Good morning, guys. Welcome to Tropicali Food Forest. I'm John the Builder, and today we're going to talk about fast growing support trees for your food forest system. It could also be used for syntropic agroforestry here in Southern California or perhaps anywhere in the world that's zone 10, A or B. So, support trees in a food forest system is critical, especially in a climate like ours where we don't get enough rain. So, we get these support trees that are drought tolerant that can provide the canopy and the biomass to get this system going so that our fruit trees can thrive. So, let's get started. But first, here's Lucky enjoying himself. Right, Lucky? Getting dirty? Huh? Yeah. You want to hear about fast growing support trees? No? It's too boring? Well, too bad. Lucas wants to hear about it. So here is one of my favorites. This is an ash tree. And this might just be about 2-3 years old. It grows fast. And I love it because it likes to grow straight, as you can see here. It's really straight. And we'll cut it at about a height that's taller than me. And it'll create these side shoots. Well, not really side shoots, but they're pretty vertical too. Maybe at a 45-degree angle. We kind of trained this to go 45. We put a rope right there and we attached it to that concrete object. And so that we can get a canopy in these walkways, which is important to me during the summertime, because it can get really, really hot. It can get up to like 100. Last year we got to 113 degrees, and I would still want to be able to enjoy being out here during those times of the year when it's just super hot. And these trees are phenomenal when it comes to that. And they're very easy to chop and drop. You can use different kinds of tools like pruners, handsaw or power saws or chainsaws, whatever that you need. And the nice thing about it is that it creates these very long internodes that is pretty straight. So you can use those as stakes for the garden or for anything, building things, as a matter of fact. And so ash trees is just one of my favorite. They lose most of their leaves during our winter here in zone 10B, and they create beautiful, wonderful mulch like this. Okay, and I rake this and I put it into our fruit trees. And we're planting a lot more of these because we want more biomass that can be produced without us having a need to do, constant chop and drop like we do with our Tithonia diversifolias, Mexican sunflowers. And they're just wonderful. And here's another one here, and you can see the structure right there. And I'm going to show you a few more. These right here are ash trees, right there. And I'm letting this grow tall, and just to create a lot more biomass. And when we get our first rain in late fall, perhaps winter, we'll cut that down about that height and use all of this as material for our garden supports, and also as a mulch for our fruit trees that can create that soil fertility that you can't get anywhere. So here's another one right here. You can see we chopped and dropped these right there. And oftentimes we don't chop them all at once. What we do is during the summer months, we have a fruit tree right here. This is we have this tangerine tree right here that's in the shade of these ash trees. So what we do is when it gets too shaded, that is the time where we can, cut a few of these branches to open up the canopy so our fruit trees can get a little bit more sun, but not completely expose them. Now, once these trees right here gets big enough, we can totally remove some of these until to the point where, you know, we can control where this canopy goes. Because we still want all these bare spots to be covered during summertime until we get a tree here. Like I was planning to put a mango tree right here, and once that mango tree, you know, becomes the canopy, then at some point in time, many years from now, these ash trees can disappear, and that's the goal. So here's another one. This is a younger one right here. That's an ash tree. Now this ash tree right here, believe it or not, is less than 4 years old, I believe. It grows fast, really fast. Provide a wonderful shade. And you know, it's kind of messy here, but this is kind of like one of my favorite spots. We just got to clean it up for a little bit. I got this really nice hammock, and it's really nice to just hang out under the canopy of these ash trees. Look at that right there. So ash, one of my favorite fast-growing support tree. And what we have here is an ice cream bean. Look at this one. This is about 4 or 5 years old over here in this area. Planted from a small seedling we got from Exotica Nursery. And unfortunately, many of our ice cream beans got eaten by the gophers when they were young. And I planted quite a bit. And unfortunately, they got killed when they were just about to have their growth spurt. But this one survived, and it's a beautiful tree. Provides wonderful fruit that tastes like cotton candy. It's like a vanilla cotton candy. And I'm pretty sure this would be... And they grow back readily when you chop and drop them. But this one in particular, we're just letting grow tall because I want a tall tree in my yard where that I can climb and one day create and one day get into the hobby of tree weaving. And that's a whole topic for another video later in the future. So this is ice cream bean. We've got several of them in the property. This right here is another ice cream bean. And it's not the most healthy looking, but it's doing okay. And this is another ice cream bean in the front of our property. And it got attacked by the gophers. It was literally, I literally found it down at one point and I propped it right back up and it survived. And this one doesn't get water, hasn't gotten water for about 3 years, and it's thriving. So here is a about 3-year-old ice cream bean. It is at a point now in its growth where it's likely going to have this massive growth phase, and probably by the end of this year it'll be twice this size. So here's another one. This is a royal Poinciana. Has this beautiful yellow flowers that you can use in your bouquets. And it's really easy to chop and drop. They're so easy to just snap. Very easy. So this one falls into one of my favorites. This one is our oldest yellow Poinciana, and we have constantly chopped and dropped this, and it is still thriving, producing wonderful mulch. And the nice thing about this particular mulch is that They are small in size right here, and can be used in your garden beds, in your vegetable garden beds. And it's look at that, wonderful mulch. And just look at these flower heads right here. Imagine that in a bouquet right there. It's beautiful, beautiful. And they make so much of it. And another support tree is this Jacaranda. Right there. Now, I'm a little bit disappointed with Jacaranda. I thought they were fast-growing trees, but I didn't find it to be so. This one in particular is probably 5-6 years old, and it has finally started to grow quickly last year. But for the first 3 years of its life, it's slow growing, and I'll show you some of that. Like this Jacaranda here, that's 2 years old. It's not as fast growing, guys. Maybe this is even 3 years old. I have another one over here that's finally starting to have a growth spurt right here, right? So this is about probably 3 years old right here, and it's finally growing. So maybe it has a chance, but it's not on my top. It's not on top of my list, but definitely something to plant because it does provide really nice dapple shade. And I love these leaf structures right here. And it's nice to have variety in the food forest. So Jacaranda, here's another one right here, 3 years old. And I think at this point in time is when they also get their growth spurt. So Jacaranda, it might move up on the list if this thing keeps it up. And since we're here, here's another royal Poinciana. Look at this beauty. And since this thing is going towards our walkway, look at that. See how easy that is to chop and drop? This is really nice in a syntropic agroforestry system because it's so easy to chop and drop. One of my most fast growing support trees in our yard is this California pepper tree. Now a lot of these, volunteered themselves because we had what I think is 100-year-old pepper tree that we had in this property, and that fell and was rotting from the inside out. And this particular tree is super fast growing. I mean, and it can create these thick branching. This trunk, look how thick these trunks are, and this is like 5-6 years old, and they can grow fast, quickly, and they provide a lot of biomass. Now, I don't recommend this, particularly because their root system's really invasive and likely will break concrete pathways if you have them. You don't want to plant this next to any of your water pipes, your sewer pipes, or your foundation for your house or any structure of that matter. Now, I'm not particularly a fan of the limbs. When you cut them down and put them in the ground, they don't tend to lay flat, and they're not as easy to chop and drop, in my opinion. And but they grow fast, and they'll grow shoots all over here. And I don't particularly recommend this tree. I think there's other trees that do well and probably better in a syntropic system. But if you're looking for fast growing trees and fast growing shade, which this is beautiful as a shade, this is why I have this bench here, because it's really nice to be underneath this during the summer. But yet I think there are better trees out there. because this will require huge maintenance in the future. And if you're not into the maintenance part of it, if you're not, if you let this thing go, it can get crazy, guys. And so it's not something I recommend unless it's this particular species that you're looking for. Here is a Pakistan mulberry tree. It is becoming one of my favorite fast-growing support trees. And a major plus is that it fruits. It creates these wonderful berries that are really delicious. It responds well to getting chopped down, and it forms these really nice leaves that you can also use as a vegetable. So when they're young, probably a little bit younger than this, right? Let me see if I can find when they first begin to shoot out, younger than this, they can be eaten as vegetables. And so this will be awesome in a syntropic style agroforestry system here in Southern California. And they're wonderful. And it's not just the Pakistan, but also this ever-bearing mulberry tree right here. And if you look at this tree, guys, it is loaded. I mean, the birds, there's enough for the birds and enough for us. Look at the amount of berries that's in the ground. And you don't want this tree if you are, if right next to, say, your pathways or your driveway, because it's going to stain your concrete. I mean, these trees, they will stain your clothes, they will stain your hands. Yeah. But these berries are so delicious. And so you can cut them, they'll come right back. And they're so easy to propagate. You can just take a cutting, stick it into the ground. I'll show you one later where I just stuck into the ground during the winter months, and they started to grow. So mulberries, guys, they are awesome as a support tree that gives fruit. I mean, look at that. It's loaded. Doesn't require anything. It doesn't even require water once it gets established. And doesn't need to be fertilized. I don't fertilize that. It just goes. Now, here is a mulberry cutting I just stuck into the ground maybe about 2.5 years ago. And look at this. From a cutting, guys. Fruiting. Okay, from a cutting. Look at this, same age. Look. From a cutting. So, mulberries. One of my top support trees. And here's an Oscar mulberry right here. This one likes to grow vertical, much more so than my other ones. And if that's what you like, get an Oscar. And another support tree that's pretty fast growing once it gets to a certain height is this Tipuana Tipu. And it has beautiful leaf structure, guys. Look at that. It is nitrogen fixing, and it provides beautiful canopy. It's also very easy to chop and drop. Look at that. Okay. Once it gets thick though, you will need some pruners. So this is the Tipuana Tipu, and it provides dapple shade. The only thing I don't particularly like about this tree is that it kind of struggles during the winter months. It'll lose its leaves and doesn't really get going until summer. So here is our oldest Tipuana Tipu. I pruned it multiple times, so you can see. Pruned it from there, pruned it right there, and right there. And it is shading my avocado trees right there. And look at that dapple shade that it creates, which I really, really like. Now, you gotta be careful because from what I hear, the root system's kind of invasive. So this is a tree that you probably don't want to plant near structures, but it's a beautiful tree. So another fast growing support tree, believe it or not, in my opinion, it's a support tree, is this Loquat. Now this Loquat tree is a fruit tree, but it produces so much fruit, which is a plus when it comes to a support tree that also produces. It's bulletproof. Once it gets going, it's pretty much drought proof, and they're really easy to chop and drop as well. In fact, their limbs break from producing so much fruit, and right, and they produce a ton of biomass. Right there, that's one little limb. So grow Loquat as a support tree. So this tree right here is a Willow Acacia. It's super fast growing and produce a really nice thick layer of canopy. You can prune it in a way where that canopy can be a bush, or it can be a tall tree that produces a nice windbreak in a nice shady environment if you need plants that require that level of shade. And I'll show you, let me show you the tree that is much bigger than this. Now this is a Willow Acacia, and let me zoom back because this is a super fast growing tree. This tree is about 6 years old, and it volunteered itself here, likely from the arborist mulch that we installed in this property. I never watered this, guys, and it was not anywhere near a drip irrigation, and it just blossomed. And it produces beautiful trunks and provide a lot of biomass. And the nice thing about the biomass that it produces is that it's thin, right? And they don't decompose as quickly, and so you can use them in your garden beds. And these particular types of mulch, they don't attract the snails, and so they're awesome in garden beds as a replacement for straw. And here's some that I just recently chopped and dropped, and there's more right here that I'm putting in our compost pile. So Willow Acacia, guys, probably one of my top favorite support trees here in our food forest. Another contender is this yellow bell. Look at this beautiful yellow bell. And in our food forest, I want to introduce a lot more flowering shrubs, flowering trees, because they bring in the beneficial insects, and they're also wonderful as a chop and drop. Look how easy it was to just cut this branch here, this little branch. And they provide beautiful flowers, guys. If you're into, flowers for the house, or just flowers for decorations, or just love flowers in general, get a yellow bell tree. Look at this. It's not the most fast growing tree, but it is drought tolerant, and it has about a moderate vigor to it. This particular tree here is probably about 5-6 years old, and it's beautiful, beautiful. And here next to it is another one. It's called a honeysuckle, and it's not one of my favorites, but I love it, particularly because of the flowers. And these flowers here, and also the yellow bell, I often see hummingbirds just hovering and feeding on the nectar of these flowers. So if you like hummingbirds, plant honeysuckle and plant yellow bell trees. And they're both really easy to chop and drop, as you can see here. Let me just look at that, single-handed, right? Perfect for chop and drop. And this tree right here is called a Leucaena. Leucaena is one of the trees that's talked about a lot by Geoff Lawton. It's a nitrogen fixer, and it could be fast growing, but it doesn't particularly do well in this area. It does well enough to make it on our list of fast growing trees here. It's nice to have. It's a really beautiful tree that creates dapple shade, and I think that any person doing syntropic agroforestry, or perhaps a food forest guilds for food forest systems, should have one. Here's another Leucaena that's we're using as somewhat of like an alley cropping type of way in our vegetable garden bed. And the way I'm using it is at the end of this year, once this trunk gets kind of thick, I'll start chopping it off a little higher than this, and this would create a trellis system similar to what we have right here. So it's a living stake, living trellis, and we can actually connect these with a rope, or maybe one of the branches from the ash trees, and we can create a place where maybe a grapevine can climb over, or perhaps a tomato can climb over. And here's another one here, right here. It's Leucaena. Now these ones have grown pretty fast. Okay, so this is what I mean. Some of them don't make it, and some of them grow pretty fast. So that's why they're on this list. And it's nice because they have these tall, straight growth, and you will cut it like around the 7-foot mark, maybe 8 feet, and you have a nice stake you could use as a trellis. Right here, this particular tree here is a Staghorn Sumac. It's beautiful, guys. It creates beautiful looking flowers, and it grows straight, and I believe has really deep tap roots. And just like most of these fast growing support trees, doesn't require much water. And I believe once it gets to like this point, it doesn't need to be watered here in our climate. And you can use these as trellises. Look what we're doing. And again, we can actually make it about this height or taller, and we can use a branch, like those long branches from the ash trees, and we can actually connect all of these, create arbors and whatnot. So that is a Staghorn Sumac, and I'll show you another tree. So this is another Staghorn Sumac, and we're trying to again, train this to bend at a 45-degree angle so it can shade our walkway right here. The sun sets towards that way, so this one is doing its part to shade this area during the hot summer months. And so this one in particular we're allowing to grow a little bit taller, and we'll probably, once it gets to like maybe that high, we'll cut it down and it'll create an area that can surround this place with a little bit of shade. So Staghorn Sumac, I would highly recommend. And another tree that is bulletproof, super fast growing, very easy to chop and drop, and did I say super fast growing, very easy to propagate through air layering, is this Indian cluster fig. It's supposed to be a fruiting tree, but it's been here for about 7 years, 6-7 years, and it hasn't fruited at all. But man, it is a mulch producer. It creates these beautiful leaf litter that is gold. It's gold. Creates a thick layer of shade. So for those of you who like to plant things that are, shade tolerant trees or shade loving trees or plants, like my mother loves orchids, this is the tree, guys, to plant for something like that. And look at the shade that it provides, and look at the amount of biomass it provides. And we raked this up already several months, maybe 2 months ago, and it'll just keep on dropping leaves. So Indian cluster fig, guys, highly recommended. I'm trying to propagate this and just continuously add it all throughout the property. And this particular one, we just kind of letting grow tall, because it's at the back of the property where we want it to be a little bit woody. We want it to create these leafy biomass that's passive. It's like a passive biomass producer where we can just rake it and put it into our fruit trees. And you can certainly chop this wherever you like, and it will just it'll just grow. It won't even blink an eye. And as you can see right there where I chopped it down in that area, it just grows, guys. So highly recommend an Indian cluster fig. And if it fruits, I have never tried it, but if it fruits, that would be a plus. But yes, Indian cluster fig. So one that is probably not considered a tree, more of like a shrub, but you could certainly train it into a canopy system that is, I would say, medium size. It can probably grow about 10 to 15 feet, is this butterfly bush. And this butterfly bush provides beautiful flowers. So they come in this purple. I have a variety that I planted just the last few years that's colored pink or magenta, and it is beautiful. And they're wonderful as cut flowers, guys, and they're really easy to just chop and drop. See that? And they're pretty straight, so they're really easy to just put in the ground and lay on the ground. So beautiful tree / shrub, and it's super fast growing, easy to propagate. You literally just take this cutting, right, and just stick into the ground and you water it, or you do that during the rainy periods of the year, and it will grow. And it likes to create these these side shoots here, and they like to grow vertical, and then they start to bend. And so you can train this to be like this tall and provide this kind of semi dapple shade canopy, right? And then you just kind of trim this off once it starts to really droop down, and it can be a nice shade layer for your fruit trees that provide beautiful flowers. That is another Staghorn Sumac right there. So this eucalyptus here, I don't know the variety of this eucalyptus, but this was given to me by a friend of mine. And wow, this grew quickly. This was probably, I would say like this tall, maybe 2.5 years ago. And bam, it grew quickly. And, you know, Byron, who, you know, you should check out his channel, Byron Grows. And all the people in Brazil doing syntropic agroforestry, they use eucalyptus in the syntropic agroforestry system. And I can see why. It grows very fast, very quickly. And my only problem with this tree is that I don't know too much about it yet. I'm gonna start doing the first pruning later this fall and see how it behaves. But you know, so far it's really nice. The drawback that I would think that this tree may have in a climate like ours, where we get like those droughts, is that eucalyptus can be flammable, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there are oils in this tree that makes these really flammable. And so that's the one drawback that I have when using this in your agroforestry system in a climate that doesn't get that much rain. But of course, this is really drought proof. It's not even on drip irrigation. And I mean, I'm pretty sure the roots have found the drip irrigation. And this is a tree that's really fast growing, guys, but you got to be careful, get to know this tree, because if you let it go out of control, the limbs tend, from what I hear, the limbs can tend to die back, and it can create dangerous situations. But in a food forestry system, if you're going to incorporate these fast growing trees, and especially in syntropic agroforestry system, you got to know how to prune, you got to know how to manage these trees, and not just particularly talking about this one in particular, but all the other fruit trees, especially like the pepper tree. The California pepper tree requires extensive pruning if you're going to add it to your agroforestry system, unless you're creating that area as a wooded lot, like a natural ecosystem as a natural ecosystem. Now this is a carob tree. A carob tree, when it fruits, it creates these pods that are supposedly is a substitute for chocolate. I've actually tasted it. It tastes pretty good. And from what I heard, in order for this to create pods, you need a female and a male tree, which I don't have. I only got this one tree here, so I need to add more. But I really like this tree. It creates beautiful shade, beautiful canopy, and it creates these wonderful things, these beautiful leaf litters. It's pretty much evergreen, so you chop and drop these, and you know, it's beautiful mulch. It's a beautiful tree, very fast growing, and I need to add more of this into my system here. I need to add more to my food forest. And believe it or not, guys, I am actually turning into these cherimoyas. These cherimoyas, they thrive in our climate. They really do. We're in SoCal. They thrive here. Yeah, they will lose some of their leaves during the winter time, but they thrive. So imagine cherimoyas as a support tree that potentially can fruit for you if you pollinate it, if you allow it, right? So let me show you what we're doing in our syntropic agroforestry system. So here in our syntropic agroforestry system, we have this cherimoya right here, right next to our mango tree, right? So this mango tree is not going to produce for at least 5 years, maybe 7, maybe 10. And so it's going to take a long time for that mango tree to produce. especially in our climate where mango trees, our climate is considered marginal for mangoes. But this cherimoya right here is pretty fast growing. I would say it grows moderately vigorous, and it provides a lot of biomass. And here we can create a chop and drop canopy layer that can also produce fruit within 3-4 years, and be an intermediary for the meantime while this mango tree gets mature. So once the mango tree gets big enough, we can begin to really chop down this cherimoya tree, or we can train it to grow towards a spot where there's a niche for it to shade, say, the pathway, until perhaps another mango tree or another main fruiting tree starts to take over that spot. So we can use fruiting trees, guys, as a support tree for our long-term fruit trees. So in here we're using pomegranates as a support tree in our syntropic agroforestry system. Yeah, it's a fruit tree, but they grow fast, right? They're fast growing, and they provide a lot of biomass. We have a mango tree right here that it is somewhat shading because it kind of needs, young mango trees often need a little bit of shade, and this will provide that shade during the summer months. And what we do is if it's giving too much shade, it's very easy to prune that canopy and open that up so that it can have a lot more sunlight. And we are in control, guys, in control of the canopy layer. So pomegranates, okay, support tree. This right here is a beautiful pink power puff tree. I don't know what it's called outside of the pink power puff unless I Google it, but I don't want to do that right now as I'm making this video. But it's a pink power puff. It creates beautiful flowers. Look at those leaves. Those leaves are beautiful. Creates beautiful dapple shade. There's a mango tree right here. Yeah, it's a young mango tree, and it's letting in enough sunlight to allow this mango tree to flourish, and everything underneath it to flourish. And it is another nitrogen fixing tree, and it is beautiful. It's beautiful. Just wait for the flowers to come up. But just look at this tree. It's so green, it's so vibrant. The drawback is that, they lose their leaves during the winter time. That's the major drawback for this. It's not evergreen. And so, I'm adding this everywhere. I'm hoping that I can just cut it and just stick into the ground, and hopefully it'll take. Let me know how would you propagate this other than from seed. I'm hoping that I can get some seed from this year. But it is fast growing, very fast growing, guys. I got this from I was in this neighborhood, and I was trying to collect seeds, and this lady was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just trying to collect seeds. I'm sorry." And she was like, "You know what? Wait right there." And then she gave this to me. It was about that tall in a 3-gallon pot, and I planted it here about 3 years ago, and look at this. Super fast growing, and it's beautiful. So grow a pink power puff in your food forest or syntropic agroforestry system. Now here is a butterfly bush that's about 8 feet tall, and look at those beautiful flowers. All right, so this is called an alocon tree. At least that's what they call it in the Philippines. They create these mulberry-like fruit, and not really fruit. You can't really eat it, fresh at least. But Filipinos, they put this on a dish. They create dish. They turn this into like a stir fry. I don't have the fruit on here right now, but as you can see, it's really fast growing, super fast. And this was just planted last year. Last year, I uprooted it from a big tree I'm gonna show you later, and it was like literally like this tall last year. And look at it, holy moly. All right, so this is oh man, this is, I would say, five-year-old aloe tree. I think aloe tree is also called a beech tree, Beech. I'm not sure about that. And right here, let me see if I could zoom in. They create this mulberry-like fruit right there. You see it? Right there, that's really fuzzy. And it is used as a vegetable in the Philippines. And they create certain kinds of dishes. And it's really fast growing, guys. Hold on, Lucas. It's really fast growing. Lucas wants to play. Lucas, we'll play. Relax. It's super fast growing. It creates a very thick canopy. It loses all its leaves during the winter time, so you'll have that mulch in the ground. And those are the pluses for me. The negatives are they have these big, massive leaves. So if you have a young tree underneath, it can actually smother it, and the canopy is so thick that you really need to have real shady, loving plants underneath it. And but take a look at this. This is a grapevine that we're allowing to climb in this tree, and you could tell it's not really getting enough sun, but hey, it's still producing. Let me see if I can show it. It's still producing these nice clusters, but they're really tiny clusters of grapes. But man, okay, look how tiny these are. But holy shoot, they're really sweet still, despite the fact that they're so small, not getting enough sun. Okay, so anyways, I've cut this down many times. You can see the cuts right there from last fall. There's the cuts right there from last fall. And this tree just woke up just several weeks ago, and it is bulletproof, very drought tolerant. The only thing, guys, I don't know if these trees are popping up from the roots. I don't know if it creates the rhizomes under the ground and these start popping up, or it could just be from the berries, the berry fruits, or the vegetable fruits that it drops into the ground. So I don't know. So that's one thing to consider if growing an aloe tree. It could be not necessarily invasive, but quote unquote weedy, and that might be something that you like. It's something that I actually like here, because I can uproot this, put it somewhere else, and I know how to manage these trees. If I'm gonna kill this tree right here, I can just cut it down, use it as mulch. Any mulch, any ground cover is good, and it's pretty controllable. I mean, it's not like that thing will just grow crazy over the course of a few months. You cut that down, and maybe it'll come back after 4 months or so. At that stage right there, they're very easy to control. Even this tree, this tree, once you learn how to manage these trees, they're very easy to control. So aloe tree, or maybe it's also a beech tree. You decide, guys. Here is the leaf structure, and it's weird because there's two leaf structures. Sometimes it's like this, right? And just look at that. So if you want to Google that, feel free. But when I did, it showed beech. And when you cut into this, it's not necessarily hollow, but some of this, like maybe when they're a little bit thicker than this, it is kind of semi-hollow inside. All right, so that's that tree. There's one more, and it's becoming one of my favorite support trees that I am trying to propagate to spread all throughout my property here. And let me show you what it is. This is an olive tree, and it's bulletproof. It's super drought tolerant. This tree never got water. Never got water. And it was here when I believe it was here. No, actually, no, I planted this as a 2 foot high tree that I got from the nursery. And I don't know the particular variety, but we're trying to collect different kinds. And look at this. It's beautiful. Creates nice dapple shade environment. It's beautiful. And this particular one we just kind of let do its thing. So it's got a ton of stems coming from the main trunk and all over, but it looks beautiful. You can certainly train this as a single stem tree and use in a syntropic style agroforestry, and it is definitely a must in our system, in our food forest system, I believe. And I want to propagate more of it, like I mentioned earlier. So yes, get yourself an olive tree, guys. It is bulletproof, and one day we will have plenty of it, and we will make our own olive oil and pickle our own olives. This is an awesome tree. All right, guys, so those are the fast growing support trees. We probably have a few more, but those are the ones that's worthy of mention. If you have any support trees that you think I should add in this food forest system or our syntropic agroforestry system, please drop it into the comment. Let me know. Send me a link of the particular tree if there's a YouTube video on it. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time.